Hi, my name is Brigida. I'm a teacher, I'm a tutor, and I want to show you one of the lessons I have so you can kind of see what I do. So here we go. I'm going to share my screen with you. And this lesson here is about language and gender and the vocabulary words we use for men and for women to kind of bring attention to how those words are different and the associated meanings of those words we use are different for men and women. So I start this lesson out by asking my students who are not here today, so to work in pairs and come up with a list of any word you can think of that we use, an animal word that we think you can think of that we use for women to describe women. And it could be farm animals, it can be wild animals, it can be pets. So any word that you can think of. So in the interest of time, I'm going to give you a list that I just came up with. But this list came from my students, so they know. So here are some words that we use that my students came up with. Dog, bitch, which is a female dog, actually. That's the literal meaning of that word. Cow, cougar, chick, bunny. So those are some of the words. Before we get into the meaning of those words, I'm going to move on to the list for boys. So I would give you more time to think about words you use to associate with boys. So here are just a few, because I think there's more for women, but here's a few. Dog, again. Stud, which is a male horse. Bull or bully. Pig. And let's now look at what we associate with those lists of words that we use. So I'm going to start with dog, because dog is one that is always appearing. Whenever I have done this lesson, that's one of the first ones that come up. So dog is used for both women and men, but they have slightly different associations, which is another word for that is connotation of the word. So the denotation of the word is the literal meaning. It's an animal, it's a dog. We all know what they look like. And the associated meaning of that word, if you call a woman a dog, she's ugly. That's literally the meaning, or not literally the meaning, that's the meaning, the associated meaning. And if you call a man a dog, what does that mean to you? I think most of us think of, when you call a man a dog, it's not about his appearance, it's more about his behavior. And a man who's a dog is someone who sleeps around. So I think those associations speak to stereotypes in our culture about men and women and how we see men and women. So let's move on to a couple of other words. So I don't know if I said this, but oh yeah, cow. So what do we associate with a woman when we call her a cow? So we know that it's, the female version of that animal, right? But it's also a woman. We call a woman a cow. It's usually big, large woman, obese woman, perhaps. So it has this negative connotation about her appearance, right? Now, if we call a man a bull, what we associate that with somebody strong, somebody virile, somebody powerful, perhaps. Now, a stud is a male horse, right? We call, and again, it's about him being perhaps promiscuous, strong, powerful, whereas a filly, which is a girl horse, is, kind of cutesy and yeah, not powerful like the male version, right? There's also other words that for younger versus older, right, women. So there's cougar, which is a middle-aged woman who is looking to find a younger man. Then there is chick. Now, is that young or old? You know, it's old, it's young, right? So it's a young girl. She's cutesy, it's little, pretty. So it seems to me that there are certain kinds of associations with girls and certain kinds of associations with boys. And why is that? So I'm going to bring in this excerpt. Let me minimize my screen a little bit here. And let's see here. Is this it? Yes. So this excerpt is from a very good textbook called, it's not quite a textbook, but it's a book full of excerpts from different texts, and it is called Language Awareness for you teachers out there. So Language Awareness is an excellent resource. I've used it many times. And this excerpt here is from an earlier version by Aline Pace Nielsen. I'm not quite sure where it first appeared, but I have borrowed from it many times. And so it speaks to the history of us using animal vocabulary to describe girls and animal vocabulary to describe boys. And from when we lived on farms and when we were closer to nature. And so that's how all these words perhaps came into our vocabulary. But it doesn't really explain the sexism or the stereotypes that we have with men and women. And just knowing that this is part of our culture and it's part of our language and it's part of other languages too. So if you speak another language, think about that. How do those associations, what are those associations to the word in your language? What other meanings do those words have? So going back to my lesson here. So yeah, what do you think those cultural reasons are for why we call women animal words that are more based on appearance versus male animal words tend to be less negative and more associated with behavior? So one of the other classes I teach is Theory of Knowledge. This is an IB course. In this article, she argues that language reflects and solidifies deeply ingrained cultural attitudes. And I would say that is true. Is there any hope that prejudice then can be reduced by altering the language? So that's for another lesson. But it have changed my language a little bit. I did used to address my kids or my students when I came into class. I would say, "Hey guys," and after a while I realized half the classroom is girls, and sometimes it's all girls. So I've changed my language. I say hi girls and boys, or hi everyone, or something to that effect, just because I don't know if I like the fact that all girls in a room would be guys. Have a good day, everyone, and thank you for listening to me.